What's going on, guys, and welcome to June's delayed episode of Game of the Month, the show where we pick a game random every month, and at the end of the month, we talk about it. My name's Seth. This is Chevy joining me. Welcome back, Chevy. Hopefully you're doing well.
Doing pretty good. Yourself?
I'm doing good. I just got back from vacation, had a good time. Went out around the Olympic mountains and the coast in the Pacific Northwest and had a really good time. And I'm already kind of missing it, but also kind of missing technology because I was pretty disconnected out there. But it was a good time all around.
It's good to hear.
And that is why the episode is delayed, but you guys understand. So in case you guys don't know, we played the Ascent throughout June, and we will be discussing that today. And we are also picking a brand new game of the month for July. Chevy's actually picking. It's your pick. We'll get into that in a sec. But I just want to throw out there, too, just in case you don't know, the games for PlayStation Plus have been confirmed for July, and that is Crash Bandicoot 4, Man of Medan, and Arcade-Ageddon. The rumors, the leak was true. It's like the third month in a row now that the leaks have been completely true, so I don't know how these are just getting out nonstop now, but, no big deal, because we're going to play them, we're going to talk about them at the end of the month. And if you missed the most recent Plus Club, it's out, so go check it out. If you're curious about what we had to say about the games we played, I don't remember what they were. There's something good, though, I'm sure, so go check that out.
God of War.
God of War was one of them.
Nickelodeon.
All-Star Brawl.
Yeah.
And
Naruto to Boruto.
Shinobi Striker.
Yeah.
So check that out. All right, so we got to talk about the Ascent, but before we do that, Chevy, it is your month to pick Game of the Month. We're 3 days into the month already, so we're going to have to make up for that. Do this how you want. Tell us what you're picking and why you're picking it.
All right. It's actually kind of a painful month for me because there's a lot of stuff I've fallen behind on this year, and I was very tempted to. I also have some, choices that I want other people to play. Mostly Seth, but, that choice being Final Fantasy 14, I would like him to go through the story at some point, but I did not pick that. So I picked something I think that would be mutually beneficial, not even just for us, but for the community as a whole, because it's also released as of recently. So I picked Monster Hunter Rise.
Okay.
Whether you have the DLC or not, I'm picking it because of the DLC or expansion, but an excuse to get back into it because I did buy the expansion. I'd like to play it. I also know that you had mentioned you and Sarah had bought the game and not even touched it yet, so it's a good excuse to make you guys do that. So,
yeah, that's cool because I've been wanting to play that recently. I just haven't had the time. I have played it a little bit, but not enough to really dive into it. And so, yeah, we were wanting to play it. And I plan on buying Sunbreak. So, yeah, it's a good month for that. And your pick is Monster Hunter Rise. Okay. And obviously play Sunbreak if you want to play it.
Yeah, I can't tell people they need to buy the expansion. So
for sure, I'm gonna buy it anyway. Very cool. Wasn't expecting that, but definitely, as you said, beneficial for everyone because it's a game you want to play and it's a game I should be playing, and I keep making excuses to not play it. So
yeah, my runners up were Final Fantasy 14 for selfish reasons and Outriders because I am trying to get through that right now as well. So but,
yeah, I actually thought you were gonna pick that for a split second.
Yeah, thought about it, but
you're kind of building up.
You guys have beaten it too, so I don't want to force a replay on that one. Basically,
I got to play World Slayer, so
sure,
would have been fine with me. I'm probably gonna do that anyway. So
I just think Monster Hunter was more beneficial.
Yeah, no, I agree, 100%. So good pick. Very excited to play that finally. Now I got to figure out if I'm gonna play it on Switch or buy it on PC.
I bought the expansion on Switch, so
okay. Well, then I'll stay on Switch.
Yeah.
Very cool. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, guys, I've heard it here. What do you guys think about our game of the month, Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak, if you want to play that as well? Are you excited to play that? Are you already playing it? And let us know what you're thinking about in the comments below. All right, so the game we played in June was The Ascent. If you didn't get a chance to play The Ascent, it is a top-down up to 4-player cooperative twin stick shooter set in a cyberpunk dystopian world where you run around, you do missions. There's a story I wasn't really paying attention to too much, but it has to do with a lot of I don't know, just cyberpunk espionage type stuff, a lot of sneaky business around doing certain things. You run around, you shoot things, you get gear, armor with different stats, guns that you can upgrade, augments, which are essentially abilities, modules that affect you passively, and Yeah, you level up. You pick skills, and you shoot a lot of things in a lot of really flashy ways. We both played it, and let's start with you. This is your first time playing the Ascent.
Yes.
Prior to this, you didn't even know what it was.
Correct.
And yeah, what were your impressions of the Ascent in June?
All right. Well, the first thing I noticed when I booted up the game was my GPU immediately kicked on, which was kind of interesting because not a lot of games do that. So that was usually a good sign that either it's horribly optimized or it's a good looking game. And fortunately, it is mostly the latter. It is
A little bit of both, though, it seems.
it is a little bit of both for sure, but I want to lean towards the latter just because. And maybe to their detriment a little, the game is very detailed. And there's a lot going on the screen at once, which is great visually, but I do wonder if they could have taken some shortcuts to make it run a little better. But I'm not complaining. It was, I think one of the, especially as a first impression, I was like, oh, wow, this looks really nice. So
There was a video that came out when the game first came out that I think somebody hacked the game or modded it or something, and they were able to get in there like first person, and there's like real-time reflections on surfaces and like TVs that had like detailed things being played and all sorts of shit. Like there's a lot of details you're not even seeing.
yeah, it's wild.
That when you're so far out from the world, you're not even seeing all these details, but together you get this huge mesh of detail. So
And that's why I was kind of saying, like, I feel like they could have taken some shortcuts, and
Yeah.
they didn't, like, unnecessarily did not. So,
yeah, it's impressive, but also kind of like I'm like, damn, you guys really went for this.
Yeah.
And almost to your own detriment.
yeah. So yeah, character creator was okay. It's passable. I don't think it's like great or anything, but the camera angle's so high up too, you're not really looking at your character that much. So
Yeah, I already know what my guy looks like.
It's not a huge deal, but it's there. So you do have some choice, and you get to see your character in certain menus and stuff like that. So it is appreciated. The game has a very cool cyberpunk style, exactly how I envision cyberpunk worlds. I think they nailed it. They definitely had an idea and a vision for what they wanted their world to look like.
It's one of the most realized cyberpunk looking games I've
It's
seen.
very, very cool looking.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. They also, on top of that, to add to that cyberpunk experience, the music is like insane. It definitely fits the whole vibe. You got all these crazy just sound effects going with a beat with them too, so they're almost jarring sounding, but just enough to still like be a really nice like musical track for the game.
Sound design too, and I could talk about this more on when I'm talking my impressions, but you're talking about sound right now.
Yeah.
It's really well done. It's kind of crazy. I'm playing with my surround sound headphones, and like when you're off, like it's a top-down game, but you're like off this direction. I can hear when you're shooting, and the bullets are like muffled from a distance. And as you get closer, it gets like more clear.
Yeah.
And when you're running through the city, you can hear all the details around you, and like I can tell when enemies are coming from a direction. Also, like it's really impressive.
Yeah,
the audio
I
design.
wish I would have played with headphones on. I did have my headphones on, but it was because of voice chat and not because of the audio. I had the audio coming out of some pretty piss poor speakers, to be honest. So, but there were a couple times where I could tell they did care about the audio because specifically there was a certain grenade you used, and then also when we did a mission where, without going into too much detail, a spaceship, or not a spaceship, but a ship blew up. The sound effect, the way they modulate I think that's what they're doing, the bass or whatever for that, was crazy sounding.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of, and this is another reason I've said this before, is a little slight detour here, but like there's some parts in like Fire Force, the anime, that use these crazy bass sound effects when attacks are going off, and it's just ear candy. And this reminded me of that kind of same idea, where like how can we make their ears part of the experience here?
Yeah, I mean, like when me and you are playing together, and I'm using my gun that's shooting stasis rounds, and you're shooting normal ballistics. The bullets sound different. The guns sound different. My impacts on the enemy sound different than yours.
Yeah.
And if I shoot someone enough, they start filling up their stasis, and then they'll grow and explode and blow up. And like you just have this like plethora of like clear, crisp sounding sound effects that just makes the whole like firefight sound crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. What else did I kind of take away from the game? I think the game does a good job of being a blend of action and RPG as well. The character stats system is both simple and complicated, which is kind of nice. It's not like crazy. You're not running into like Path of Exile skill trees or anything like that. But like,
I wish it was more complicated, but it's fine.
well, I think, yeah, so this is what I think it's got a good balance, right? Because you do have like some stats to kind of focus towards, but you can only level them so much, and then you min-max through gear to push stats over that 20 cap or whatever.
Yeah, all stats go to 20 and then they're stopped, but at that point you can go beyond it with the gear.
Yeah, and there's like 4 categories of these stats, and then depending on like your skills or your augments and stuff like that, they will be associated with one of those brackets, which are all color coordinated with like orange and green, blue, purple, etc. So it's really easy at a glance even to go, oh, this augment, I know I have 20 points in like hit points, for example. So if this augment benefits from orange stats, it's going to be better for me if I use this one right now. So yeah, you can go in and like mid-max if you want, but also just at a glance, you can just make good decisions too. So I think that design-wise in that regard, they did a good job. I'm not the biggest fan of like the twin stick shooter style of combat. I do.
And for anybody who doesn't really know what we're saying there, essentially if you're on a controller, the left stick would be moving your character, and the right stick would be aiming around your character.
Yeah.
On a mouse and keyboard, it's WSAD to move, mouse to aim around you. But yeah, twin stick shooter style game.
And it's fine, don't get me wrong, I don't hate it. I just, when I have that viewpoint, I always like, my brain defaults to like more of a Diablo style. Nitpick. It's not really going to go towards the grade, but I do wonder if I would prefer the game that way or not. It's hard to say.
Like click on an enemy to shoot them.
But then stats like accuracy might not be as impactful. So maybe, with the vision they have, obviously this is probably the better system. I just something about the controls feels a little wonky to me, and maybe has something to do with like. Because you can like crouch and shoot over things too, and it doesn't feel great, I'd say. It works, and sometimes like it works really nicely, but most of the time I feel myself just like crouching for no reason because they're just going to flank me anyways. So
yeah, very rarely do I crouch to my own benefit. Sometimes I do it to be like, maybe I could be crouching right now, but most of the time the combat's so fast-paced that I'm not even thinking about it. And yeah, if there's enough dudes, game behind cover is not going to matter.
No,
but sometimes if I have like almost no health, and in this game you have to find health packs or purchase them. Sometimes I get behind cover and just try not to get shot.
For sure, and it is beneficial to like run away behind like a pillar or something like that. And we ran into a few situations like that last night even.
Yeah. Because you're playing a more like tanky build. I was playing a more like crit based glass cannon style build, and so anytime we got into boss fights, there was a good chance I might go down because I get hit like once or twice and I'm fucking dead, which kind of sucked.
Well, and I like even like as an example, like hit points will just keep giving you more and more bars of health. I think you had 1.5.
When we stopped playing, it was like 1 1/3.
Okay, and I had almost 4 full bars of health, and an attack would go off. To give an example of like the squishiness aspect, because I imagine our armor is probably about the same. It didn't seem to differ that much in gear. There was a time an explosion went off. I lost 2.5 bars of health from one explosion. I was like, that would have just one shot Seth.
There's a lot of things that'll just fucking murder you unless you have a lot of armor.
So pretty crazy. But it is nice that like the game's not holding your hand in that regard. Like you do, like there were places we were very underleveled for running through, and we just kind of kept going at it and just being on top of it, I guess is the only way I can word that. We were able to like push our way through slowly, but get through it. Yeah, so
like you go from just kind of like mowing people down to running into something that actually murder you, and you got to recalibrate your brain. You're like, oh shit, hold on, I got to start thinking about what I do.
Which I'm gonna say right now, I appreciate. There's one thing I kind of hate about the modern like Western RPG, and that is like level balancing in games. I hate that everything is always like 1 to 2 levels higher than you, and that's the difficulty scale
constantly.
Yeah, I don't like that. I really miss like this area is full of level 5 people, but that's full level 30s. Go there at your own risk, type of thing.
I prefer that too. I get why people do the like constantly make sure you're always fighting people that are are meant to fight you, but it does get kind of like boring in the sense that like I do miss that I can go back to places and just murder people and be like, oh, I've really progressed, but then run into people and go like, ooh, I need to wait for that, or you beat them and you're like, fuck, dude, we shouldn't have been able to do that.
Well, I think that's part of the RPG experience, right? You start off, you have to fight your way to strength, but you earn that strength, and later you get to just be reminded that these people that were kicking your ass, you can bully the shit out of them now.
Exactly.
I don't know. I think something was lost, in the terms of trying to keep difficulty balanced. I think they kind of lost the feel good of your progression. So
yeah, I think the best way to for me, my preferable situation in that is to be a more traditional game where there is just different leveled enemies on the map. Maybe get creative on how you introduce them. I don't know, but then like have New Game Plus. So if you do get overpowered and you're like, oh god, the game's too easy, start the game over. Now it's readjusted. But yeah, the made popular by like Oblivion and Skyrim, enemies are always just kind of like around your level, scaling with you. I get why they do it. Certain games it works really well, but it does just feel more and more the same as you play through the game.
Yeah,
you never feel like you're becoming powerful.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a problem. Versus like when we would go backtrack for a side quest and be running through a place with like level 7s and 8s, like I didn't even look at them. I just would walk and shoot and kill them. Versus like when we hit those like level 20 guys, we walked into them and I was like, oh, they're not taking any damage.
Yeah, there's one point we walked across a bridge. It's probably in this footage somewhere, and we ran into a bunch of like 21s. And we started shooting them, and then they started shooting at us. And all of a sudden, we went from like forward progression to like starting to like backtrack and run backwards while shooting at them and shit. Because like we need to not be surrounded by these fucking dudes.
I kind of just missed that, I guess, though. And the game offers it, which I really appreciate. It also is a good way to like test out like how good your weapons are, because the game also has like a wide variety of weapons. But then on top of that, you can craft them and level them up to make them stronger as well with materials and whatnot. And there were times where I could tell that I had like kind of done my upgrades a little too all over the place. And the game does have New Game Plus, which I assume is meant for going through getting those materials and leveling everything up as well, and kind of like max everything out. Because the resources, I do believe, are finite as you're going through the map, because you find them in random places. So what else do I want to kind of bring up? The armor system. I like, but I also think it's a little shallow. I kind of wish, and it has a transmog system, but I kind of wish I had more, I guess, choice in like the stat aspect of the armor. A lot of them seem to be pretty similar in the like defense stats, and then like 2 points towards orange, 2 points towards purple, or or get a little more specific, be like crit, vitality, stuff like that. But it's serviceable. It's fine. I'm not in love with it. I don't hate it. I do wish it was a little more, stat heavy in that regard. And then, the only other thing I really have to add would be, I guess, my more nitpicky and negative stuff, which would be like the story is, like you kind of said, it's whatever, though the voice acting seems fine to me. I don't have any complaints there. I'm not like, they've done a poor job of like, I guess, drawing me in to the story. All I know is like, was looking for work, did work for this guy, did job that pissed off these people, work for these people now, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the story I know so far.
Yeah, it's funny because like they worked on it. There's full-on cutscenes that show every character who's playing in the session. Which is cool. There's defined characters that you come into contact with who all have their own voice acting that's all completely passable, if not fine. But yeah, the story itself, anytime I am paying attention, I'm just like, it seems kind of generic. It's not enough for me. But they put a lot of effort into, it's kind of a theme of the whole game. They put a lot of effort into a lot of things, but there's just a couple things that are like kind of a shortcoming. It's like, man, you almost have like a great game here with how much you did put the work in. But then like, the story could be better and a couple other things that you are probably going to go into.
Yeah, well, and then like I'm actually really glad you brought up the multiple people in a cutscene thing, because there's one thing I know we've complained about with a couple games now where like the multiplayer's like either not capable because they say that there's an issue with like having all the people, or you play as like not your character, or like as a borrowed character, or like in the case of Monster Hunter, the cutscene has to play for the main character only, and so you leave for single player, you do the cutscene, you go back in type of deal. And so I appreciate that the work was put in, that all characters are involved, even in fast travel when you're in a taxi, all your characters are in the taxi.
Yep.
Very, very cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's nice in a game where you're decorating your character and everyone's characters look different, that there's enough opportunities to see them not just from above.
For sure.
So it's cool.
And then, yeah, the biggest complaint I have, though, is this game is riddled with small bugs all over the place. It's not even like these huge major bugs that happen all the time, but these little annoyances constantly happening all over the place, or like a quest won't load in because like it did a bad job of communicating something as well. Is another problem I have. We ran into an example where we tried to go into this nightclub and you just couldn't enter. And I was like, well, why does this quest want us to go over here? Oh, well, it's because in the main story quest, that's how you access this. And it would have been nice to have that told before like having access to that side quest, I guess. So, but yeah, bugs and communication are the game's hugest or biggest flaws, I think.
Yeah, bugs is definitely the worst in my opinion, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, those are pretty much my general thoughts on the game. I actually went into more detail than I thought I was going to, but
yeah. So pretty much I agree with almost everything you said, but to kind of go into my impressions real fast. I played this before, coming back to it this month. I forgot how much I really like this game. It's gorgeous looking. It's better than it deserves to look. It is graphically intensive, surprisingly. They didn't pull a whole lot of shortcuts that they could have in the development of the world, but I think it looks fantastic for it. The world is super detailed, full of neon lights, atmosphere, rain, NPCs everywhere. This is not an empty city, and they're walking around talking to each other. They're sitting on benches. They're walking around with umbrellas when it's raining. Like it's just got an atmosphere to it that's really, really well done. It's got cities you can go to that have like upgrade areas, stuff like that. But then you go out to other areas where you pull your guns out and you can run into enemies at any time. Bounties that you can run into and kill and sell at bars. And so the world design is really good, and I really enjoy running around it. And if you don't want to run around it, you can jump on the metro and go in between different areas, or you can call a taxi and you can go from area to area quickly. We were doing that a lot when we played because it's just faster, but you can run around on foot everywhere. There's also a lot of verticality to the world that I think is really interesting. The way the game plays, it kind of hinders it a bit, but not enough for me to care too much. But it is cool that the top-down nature of the game doesn't hold it back from being more vertical, because a lot of games don't really do that. You're just like running around in fields a lot, running around in town, stuff like that. And this definitely is not afraid to dream big when it comes to its environments. Gameplay, I think, is a lot of fun. I think it's really fun to shoot stuff in this game. I think the abilities are really cool. I have a bubble shield I pop out that when people shoot, it slows down the bullets significantly. They almost stop when they hit the bubble, but then they travel through it slowly, so you're able to kind of bullet storm, get around the bullets and make sure you don't get hit, which is really cool. I was using a ranger drone, robot guy who would come out and just start shooting people. There's another one that has like a club that says bleep bloop fuck you, and then runs and starts hitting people. Yeah. So it's definitely got character. And then you were using spider drones
and a shield drone,
which is really cool. You drop like 8 or 10 spiders and they all just run and start blowing up on people, which is really cool. So yeah, combat's really fun. The varied amount of weapons is a blast as well. Sometimes literally, because it's got such a varied amount of guns. It's got SMGs, assault rifles, explosive weapons like grenade launchers, missile launchers. It's got experimental weapons like the machine gun I'm using that builds stasis on people, essentially freezes them, and then if you fill them up with stasis, they'll just explode, which can cause a chain reaction, which is super satisfying. Also for crowd control, it's really nice to be able to stop characters. If there's a crowd of people running at you, you just unload into them. A lot of them start stopping when you hit them. So that's cool. And then, yeah, explosive weapons are really satisfying because, like, you'll hit a group of dudes and they jib and blow up and blood flies everywhere.
They're pretty liberal with the jibbing.
Yeah, which is, in a game like this, it's super detailed. A lot of fun. to see while you're playing. It's very satisfying. So yeah, combat is awesome. Character building is good. It could be better. With how detailed and awesome they've made this world, it's just a couple steps behind being like an immersive deep RPG. And it doesn't need to be that. This game is fairly accessible for most people, I think.
Oh yeah.
But for how much I enjoy this game, I'm like, man, if I just had a little bit more to the skill system, just a little bit more to the gear, to the weapon upgrades, this would be like a deep RPG that I think people would like keep coming back to. But the game's not really designed for that. It's kind of designed to be a shooter first for fun with your friends, with some RPG elements to keep you invested, which I think is the perfect balance. It's really good. It just could be more, but it doesn't have to be, because I think they did a really good job with it. Leveling up is satisfying. You feel the upgrades. Gear is satisfying, although it could be better. And I think guns are super satisfying, although you do just kind of upgrade them so they become more powerful. I wish there was ways to maybe change the way they shoot or something like that. Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. It'd be an awesome addition to this game. Missions are pretty straightforward most of the time. It's either go and click on something or hit E or F, whatever. We're playing on PC. And go kill a guy. That's pretty much the missions, but there's a lot of cutscenes, surprisingly. So the game is invested on trying to tell you a story, and I think they do a good enough job. The story's just not that great, but the storytelling is way better than I thought it'd be. I mean, there was a mission we had to go to a club. We go in there. There's a bunch of people dancing. Some guy is like, hey, fucking somebody kill those people and give me their head and I'll pay you. And then the dance floor turns into a shootout and everybody starts running and everybody's just shooting and shit and the music's still going. And it's going crazy.
It's a good set piece.
And then the dude, when you go to grab him, when you run out of the club, he gets in a ship and flies off. And they're like, okay, go to his fucking hangar. And you go there, and right when he's trying to take off out of the hangar to leave, you fucking shut the door, and he slams into it. I'm like, that was pretty cool.
Oh, no, that was great.
That was a pretty cool setup. Like, I like the way they did that.
And earlier when I was talking about a ship blowing up with the crazy sound effect, that was also like a good moment to have headphones on too, is when that ship blew up. The sound effect was crazy.
So, I mean, like, they got like a lot of good ideas. I just wish the story was like, I mean, they had like an amazing story. This would change my grade even more, because I like the game a lot, but the story's kind of like, whatever. Like, it's one of the biggest luster feeling parts of the game. So, but it's not bad. It's passable, whatever. So yeah, set pieces are really cool. Combat's really good. The world's really good. Upgrades are good, but could be better. Guns are really cool. The abilities are really interesting as well. I kind of talked about them already, but be able to switch those out. You can have 2 at a time. Is really cool. You also have a tactical ability, which a lot of times is a grenade, but sometimes it's other things. Mine, I think, is a stasis grenade as well. Apparently it's using a lot of stasis stuff, in which I can throw the grenade, hit the grenade button again. It will detonate the grenade, and it makes everyone float in that area. And then it does this like singularity and explodes, and it's really fucking cool looking, and the sound design is really awesome. But the way my character's built, I almost never get to use my tactical because it takes so long to fucking recharge. Builds matter in the game. I have some stuff that I could increase that with, but I haven't invested in it, or I'm not wearing it. But there's ways to speed that up if you want to play more like that. I kind of want to make like a tank build at some point in this game too. But
that's what I was kind of trying to do.
Yeah. Well, you were way more survival than me. Yeah. So it was working. So yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to say on it in regards of the game. It's awesome. It's 4-player co-op. It's awesome. You see the characters in the game, so it feels like everyone's game when you're playing. It doesn't feel like, you're just joining in on my game. Biggest problems with the game, I think, is the story could be a little more interesting, but I'm fine. I think gameplay is way more important than story. I think most game stories are not that great, so it's whatever. I'm expecting that.
Yeah, it's completely passable.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just not. It's not something to write home about. But the bugs are the biggest problem in the game. The game does have regular bugs, not a whole lot of game-breaking ones, and they've gotten better since I first played the game. When I first played the game, there's way worse bugs going on. But when me and you played, we were running into bugs regularly. We had to restart the game a couple times.
Twice, yeah.
There's one time me and you talked to the same guy at the same time. It allowed me to go into his menu to start buying stuff, and then you couldn't access it after that. So we had to restart things. can't remember any of the other bugs right now. Oh yeah, you already explained it, but there's a mission, a side mission that wants you to go to a place that if you haven't gone there in the main story, you can't even continue it, and it doesn't tell you in any way that you need to do that. So you're just doing the side quest, and it just doesn't continue, and you're like, well, what's going on?
I wouldn't call that a bug as much as like that is just
bad design,
poor planning.
Yeah.
Because it's not communicated that you need, a prior objective done, and the fact that they let you take it before you're allowed to go in there, I think it's just bad planning. So
yeah, and then playing on your game every once in a while, my audio wouldn't work. There's a point after we fought a spider boss that I was like teleporting around the map when I was walking. Yeah. It fixed itself, but it happened. And these things happen fairly regularly.
My map stopped working. Yeah. I couldn't tell where the quest.
You couldn't track your mission. Yeah, I had to do it from my side. You had to follow me, and it was your game. So I think it is the biggest weakness of the game for sure, and it will absolutely be part of my grade because I think it's
impossible not to be.
Because it is so. It feels like we ran into a bug or we ran into two bugs. I would look over it so quickly, but because it is part of the experience of playing this game. If you play this game, you are going to run into bugs. I've played with somebody else before and we ran into bugs. I played with you, we ran into bugs. So it's just happening regularly. It's absolutely part of my grade, which is too bad because I do actually really like this game. But we'll talk about that more. But all in all, coming back to it was a blast. I do want to keep playing it. I want to beat it. I heard this is a short game. And so I would like to just get through it and finish it out. It was a lot of fun playing with you. It was fun when I played with Sarah, seeing different builds, different ways of playing. And in a lot of ways, this game is better than it should be. It's super impressive in a lot of ways. But then in other ways, I'm like, this kind of feels like an indie game here. Doesn't look like one. Doesn't really play like one. But then like when the bugs happen and some weird stuff happens when you're playing, you're just like, oh yeah, this isn't like a giant AAA game.
Yeah. It's going to be harder and harder to say with Unreal Engine 5, man. Yeah. That it looks like an indie. They're all going to look good.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, but like when Unreal Engine 3 came out, all games started looking like at the time great, but some games you could tell they didn't put that much work into it. They just kind of like took the base gameplay features, of the engine and then just kind of reskinned it, whereas other people really went crazy with it. And so I think you're going to see the same thing with Unreal Engine 5. But yeah, graphics, everybody's going to have access to great graphics. We're seeing it more and more with these little fun things people are making in like a week. But yeah, had a lot of fun with this game. I'm definitely going to play more. So, you got anything else to say? All right, let's jump into recommendations. I think a hard recommendation for me to give to anybody is that this is a very realized Cyberpunk game. If you're looking for more Cyberpunk games and you don't mind top-down games, check this game out. If you played Cyberpunk 2077, you're like, I love this world and how immersive it is. Play this game. It's not the third person or first person, but it's a very immersive Cyberpunk game. So if you're really into the aesthetic, the worlds of Cyberpunk, this game 100% play it. I feel like twin stick shooters where you aim with one stick or the mouse and move with the other stick or WSAD. Maybe you played games like back in the day, like Hunter the Reckoning, which I fucking loved on Xbox. That's an old one. But maybe you played games like that back in the day and you're like, no, they don't really make those anymore. This is one of them, and it's really fucking cool. If you like up to 4-player cooperative games with loot, gear, and leveling, I would definitely recommend this.
Your character represented at all times.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend this. Even if you like games like Borderlands or other 4-player cooperative like looter shooter type games, it doesn't have the same amount of loot, but it does have a similar vibe in the sense that you are playing and getting new equipment and going, oh shit, I'm gonna do this, do that, and you're gonna make a completely different build. So I would definitely recommend it to you. Yeah, what would you add?
I mean, outside of the very obvious, like you should probably be an adult. Themes of the game, I do think the game is very accessible control wise. Like it is very simple to get into and play, and it can be as deep as you kind of want it to be in that regard. So I do think that most people could probably play it. I don't think it's going to be everyone's cup of tea because the play style is very unique, and the twin stick shooter isn't not going to be for everybody. And the top-down view. I even saw that when Lost Ark was coming out, people were complaining about the top-down view aspect of it. So I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, but if those are not deal breakers for you, I'd say just try it, because honestly, it's really easy to just play, and the game doesn't have anything that's like so complex that you're gonna have to like wiki it or anything. Like, it's pretty much self-explained within game. They did a good job in that
It's
regard.
a fantastic example of making a game that's casual friendly, but has enough meat to it that somebody who wants a little bit more from it will get something from it.
Yeah, and
I
being
wish it
able
was
to,
deeper, but it's got plenty.
yeah, I think it strikes a pretty good balance, and I do
Yeah.
think that the fact that we ran into missions where we died and stuff like that shows that it's not just like a walk in the park either.
Yeah.
You know, obviously we were able to go through and beat it, so it's not impossible, but the game will skill check you some from time to time. So, which I think also, if that sounds appealing to you, you know, give it a shot. It is a good light Western RPG, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's about it. I mean, I would loosely recommend to most people. It's a pretty straightforward game where you shoot things. So
Yeah, I do think there are people who are going to say hard no to it, but yeah, if anything we said at all remotely sounds interesting, I would just try it. It's not super expensive game. It's not super long, like you said. It's really easy to get into. You can play with friends on your save file or theirs, and you still get rewarded. You still get to use your character. So
yeah. Anything else?
nope.
All right, let's jump into grades. I'm still trying to figure out mine because I want to give it something, but I don't think I can. So I think I'm going to give it a really, 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 really strong B+. The game should be an A-level game for me because I think just visually it's really good looking. They did not hold back on making this game look the way it looks. It looks fantastic, and it's really satisfying to play. And it's missing a couple things, but nothing too crazy. I think it's deep enough, but the story just doesn't grab me. So I'm not in love with the world's like story, but the world's really cool looking, so I want to be into it. But then the bugs hinder the game more often than they should. So where I am feeling I want to give this an A-, I have to responsibly, in my opinion, give it a B+, because it is a great game, but it has some real flaws that I wish they would fix to make it the game that it should be. This is a really like don't sleep on this game. Like, check it out, but it does have issues and they need to get fixed. So B+.
Yeah, pretty much gonna echo what you said. I think if the game was less buggy and better planned, it'd be an A-, and if it had more depth, it'd be an A. So, it has everything it needs. It's just being held back by a couple easy to point out but detrimental, things to as far as like grading a game goes. But that being said, it doesn't hold me back from enjoying the game. It is a very fun game. I think it is worth getting a high grade for. But it does, like, you can't ignore the fact that I had to restart the game twice, and like that quest was able to be given to us, that we spent our time running through the streets, pushing our way through, just to find out you can't enter this building yet. And then the reason for that is because you didn't do the main story far enough yet. These are easy fixes that would very easily make the grade just jump up, I think. So but yeah, B+, it's a good time, but be warned, there's going to be some headaches.
I honestly agree 100% in the sense that if they fix the bugs, you make it an A- instantly. And if the story was like something I was really into, it would push it to an A for me, because I think the gameplay and the world's there.
Yeah.
It's a fun game. It looks fucking great. But yeah, bugs are annoying, and story is where you can start loving a game. When you get into the characters, get into the world, get into what you're doing this for, and it doesn't really have that for me, but it's serviceable. So yeah, I agree 100%. It has potential of being a great game. Hopefully they fix the bugs in this, but hopefully they're able to make an Ascent 2 and just do more of what they did, but add more investment towards the characters and world.
And polish.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get some polish on it. Anything else?
No.
All right, let us know in the comments. Have you guys played the Ascent? If you've played it, what did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What do you want to see from it? Do you want to? Did you run into bugs? Is that something that you think they should put time into? Did you not run into bugs? What would you want from an Ascent 2? Curious about that, since I brought it up. And if you didn't play this game, why haven't you played it? Have you not even heard of it? Maybe. And have we made you interested in checking it out? I think it still might be on Game Pass. So if you got Game Pass, go look for it. Because I remember when it came out, it was on Game Pass. And it's definitely a game I think you should buy. But you can play it on there. So why not? And yeah, let me know everything you're thinking about when it comes to the Ascent in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this episode of Game of the Month. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to check out our other episodes. Check out our streams and socials, links down below. Check out our Discord link down below. You can talk to us anytime, all time. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast platforms. If you prefer to listen to us, I have a TikTok. Check that out. Where I do original content there. So if you want more from us, or me, I guess, check out I think I'm Tasty Senpai or Tasty Loot Gaming on TikTok, so check that out. And Patreon. We have Patreon if you'd like to support the channel. More than liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing if you're brand new. And yeah, I've been Seth. Chevy, thanks for joining me. Thank you guys for joining us. Until the next episode, have a good one, guys, and take it easy.